we have reached the final four, which means that we have three final drafts remaining. This one, Thanksgiving week, and then hopefully, I mean, we know we'll have at least one representative in the Super Bowl, thanks to Milton and Hanover pushing through to the final four. They'll meet each other. That guarantees one spot. Duxbury, just about as close to a guarantee as you can get. Hull, pretty darn close as well. So, three drafts remaining. This is your final four WATD fantasy draft. Sports Exchange boys here. Quinn, Johnny, Brendan. And the order tonight is going to be Brendan, Quinn, Johnny. So just a quick peek at some of the Week 10 results. Brendan strong at the top with Ben Scalzi and Jacob Colstring, both over 20 points in that game, in their respective games. Scalzi went off. That was a lot of fun to watch, and a great game that we had, Hanover and Walpole. For Johnny, Hasselbeck, Nate Tullish, Chris Walsh, all over 23 and a half points. Marini had a quiet night for you. I don't have Bongo's numbers, but on the back of those three guys alone, you took home first place. For me, it was Nick Friel doing the bulk of the work. I guessed wrong on the Morley Burrell debate. Colin Morley still had a great game, 45 yards and a touchdown, but Burrell went off for a second straight week with over 150 and a touchdown. So foolish me. But Curran and Moriarty also great games. Didn't matter, wasn't enough. So Johnny gets the win. He'll pick third. Brendan, you take first pick. And with that, why don't you head on up to the podium?
Well, I got smoked last week in the standings here. Really just got two great performances and a couple of solid ones, but I fell behind quick because I didn't pick chalk names. I would try to be the nice guy this week, and I'm going to go all in this time. I'm looking at matchups. I'm looking for big points. I'm going to go with John Giannides here out of Hull, and this week against Old Colony. I think this is going to be a game where Hull runs the ball a lot. Old Colony presents a test. It's definitely a tough team out of the Mayflower Athletic Conference, but I think Hull wins this game by 2 scores, and they rely on the run game.
I like it. Yeah. Again, I said it in the open. You have to feel good about Hull's chances in this one. So, I think that's a good pick. I think that he has been so reliable for them, getting his numbers all season long. So, I think a good player to go 1-1 with. I'm going to go, and I'm going to scoop up a quarterback here. And I think there are a couple of guys that we feel pretty good about making it to the next level. One that I'm a little bit unsure about is down in D7. I'm going to go Will Baker from Cohasset. I think St. Bernard's poses a big challenge for them. I think that's a really talented team. That's a team that's been there before. Will, I think, has, not quietly by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say he's the best dual threat quarterback in the area right now. Certainly the best running quarterback, and I think he's going to have a big week for them against St. Bernard. So I'm going to go with Will Baker. All right, Johnny.
I'm looking running back first, just because I feel like the depth isn't necessarily there this week, just with the teams that are left. I think there's obviously more wide receivers, and the quarterback room is so strong. I'm going to go with Lucas Leander out of Rockland. They're lacing up against St. Mary's, which I actually think is going to be a really, really good game. I think St. Mary's is a team that we always see. No matter if they're playing Rockland or Abington, it seems like either of those two teams has to go through St. Mary's, and it's always really tight. So I think they're going to need both Colstring and Leander to step up. I'm just going to go with Leander this week.
Yeah, we talked about this one on Sunday. This is probably the matchup that scares me the most. I know Stoneham's good on the other side of the bracket, but I feel like either of these two teams, speaking of Rockland and St. Mary's, are going to have going to be able to get by Stoneham. So I feel like this is the big one for Rockland. And I like Leander. We favored Colstring in recent weeks, but Leander, after a really slow start to the season, has been phenomenal down the stretch. And I think that that's a big piece of what maybe is going to push Rockland through, is that he has turned it back on and they have a real strong dual threat attack again, or two-headed attack, I should say. All right, round 2, Brennan.
Looking at our WATD game of the week here, Milton versus Hanover. I think this is a game where you could see up to like 80 points combined between the two teams. I feel like you have plenty of options to go with in this one. I'm going to go with Mike Fulton, who has not been selected in the playoffs, surprisingly, to this point. I think Owen McHugh is going to rely heavily on him for some home run plays in this one and a few others, as will Hanover. So I think it's definitely a fantasy game.
Yeah, I think there's just like the number of different people in that game you could pick is really is the most astounding thing. I mean, you probably have 5 guys that could go out on each side and get you 20 points. I mean, there's going to be so many points to take out of that game, and I think Fulton's a good pick there. For the same reasons that Johnny mentioned, I'm gonna head into my running back room, and I'm gonna stick in that same matchup. It pains me to do it, but I went Friel last week. There's, he's just fantastic. I'm gonna go with Jack Finnegan for Milton, and I think that he's not the most eye-popping number guy, or hasn't been on the season, but the last 2 weeks he's been up over 100 yards for the first 2 times on the year. They've really gotten him going at the right time of the year. His playoff performance has been spectacular. And I think that the thing about this game is it's going to get so high flying for a time that both of these teams are going to look at some point to slow things down and say, all right, like let's cool it. Let's get on the ground. Let's pick up some yards. I think Finnegan could have a big game in this. Johnny.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on my quarterback just because you've already taken one, Quinn. I'm gonna go to the wide receiver room. The beauty with this is like you're not gonna pick a bad player. Like these teams are here for a reason. They have such good players. With that being said, I am going to go with I'm gonna go Jamie Smith from Cohasset. I think the St. Bernard's game is gonna be pretty high scoring. And I think Will Baker looks to him.
I like it. Yeah, I think that this is one of those weeks where you're going to see them have to go to the air a lot more. And hopefully for you, Jamie Smith is the beneficiary of that. All right, round 3, Brendan.
Well, as Johnny just mentioned, we're at the stage where it feels like you can pick just about anybody. So really it just comes down to matchups here. What do you like about each matchup? What sticks out about it? Maybe if you're looking for a running back, you look at a team that might be overmatched in a sense, or have a big advantage, I should say. In this case, I'm sticking with the receivers, and I'm sticking with that Milton-Hanover matchup because I just think there's going to be so much offense here. And I'm going to go to Hanover's side of it now. I'm going to take John McDonald. John McDonald has shown flashy ability to get big home run plays. We saw him have one taken off the board last week due to a penalty. No, he's going to be hungry to replace that and get his stats up. Why not go with him?
John McDonald has quietly scored touchdowns in the last 6 games now. He had 2 for Hanover in this one.
He should have had a third. He had a holding call.
I think that was Joe Curran, though.
Was it Curran?
I think it was Curran that had taken off the board. But John McDonald, to that end, I mean, you're going to get a touchdown on the board, so it really becomes how many yards can he get for you? He just seems to be automatic at this point with that. So I think it's a great pick either way.
I know this is a PPR league, but I think he also does some kicking.
That's right. That's true. I've given credit for kicks in this. I still can't really do anything for defense. There's just not enough information.
Right. There's too many variables.
Yeah, but I'll give you kicks. And with that, I'm going to stay in that same matchup, and I'm going to fanboy here for a minute. This has been such a good season for us in terms of it feels like week in and week out we're getting fantastic games, and we got 3. I mean, we said it on the show this week. We had 3 games this week that were 3 games that were won by a combined 8 points. So everything was close this week. The Walpole Hanover game I thought was the most entertaining of the bunch, and that was just because it was so high flying in the second half. But just on top of all those good games, it's been the different moments along the season, and seeing David Quinlan come back in this game was such a big piece of that. Like a kid that we were on hand for what looked like a near non-contact, very serious knee injury, thought, man, there goes this kid's senior season. How awful is that? And to see him come back and not only play on offense, but then as it got into the game, felt like the defense needing a little boost. So he's just back out there at DN too. it was just a Herculean performance. And then, you have him just absolutely manhandling kids on the sideline. It was awesome.
70-yard catch too at the end that really
Yeah,
kind of sealed it for them.
right. So I took David Quinlan once this year, and it was for, I believe, that Plymouth South game. Or it was, no, I'm sorry, it was week 2 after he said, didn't have a great performance week 1, give me another chance. And now here we are, know that he's going to be active for this one, and I'm taking him to have another big week against Milton, because I kind of just forgot what a physical specimen he is. I mean, he's huge, and I think he also is rocking a mullet. And between him and Harry Fuller, I'm just all in on the 2023 mullet train. So I'm going with David Quinlan. I think he's poised for a big game. And as Bill Vos would say, heart of a lion on that kid. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, heart of a lion fights like a tiger. That's our Billy Vos. All right, Johnny, close out round 3.
I don't have as much to say about my pick, but still a great kid. I think I'm going to go Tyler Sordillo out of Hull. I really like their matchup against Old Colony. And I think they look to throw early, and I think they're going to have tons of success on offense, whether it's running the ball or passing the ball.
So, yeah, okay. So there is a little bit to say on this, and I'll just say it now because it was a really super story that I want to say, yeah, Chris McDaniel did for the Ledger. And I want to give a quick shout because I think she watches, and I know that she always interacts with us on Twitter. But Tyler's mother, Rachel Sordillo, recently, I believe, yeah, got through chemo, dealing with cancer, and he's been playing for her. And I can't even imagine how hard that must have been this season. And so just completed her last round of chemo right ahead of the playoffs, and he's got that little lift. So a big thank you to Rachel Sordillo and the entire Hull community who has been so good with us, especially with these drafts and with everything on Twitter. And if she's watching, I'm sure she's going to be happy to see Tyler picked. And I don't think he needs any extra motivation, but maybe knowing he's on the, I think, 3 straight win now Johnny's squad, maybe that's a little extra boost for Tyler. So there you go. There's a little something on Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, obviously an awesome story. Wish her all the best, and I mean that just makes me feel even better about the pick. I mean,
Yeah, there you go.
you think Tyler's going to allow this team to lose? You think he's not going to have great games? No.
All right, round 4, Brennan.
Well, jumping to the running back pool here, I still have to close that out. A lot of these guys have already been picked. Surprisingly, no Duxbury guys during the course of the postseason to this point, so I'm going to go with Alex Barlow. Tough matchup against Holliston. Holliston, I've seen them play in the playoffs already. Very strong defensively. They shut down a great Melrose team for the most part, really held them in check. That said, we just saw Duxbury go up against Middleborough, a very tough team in that, and we saw 100 combined points between the two. So clearly offense will not be lacking, and I think Barlow is going to be the beneficiary of possibly a touchdown or 2 in this one. We'll see how long they let Matt Festa try to sling the ball around.
Yeah. I think that this is the week for a team that has not run the ball very much. They straight up didn't run the ball in the first round. I think it was like 11 carries for 37 yards for Duxbury, and just we're like, we don't need to. We're just going to tear it up through the air. Last week that turned into such a shootout that it didn't rely as heavily on the run. This is the week I think you're going to see Duxbury have to go on the ground a little bit more. So I like this being the week that you go to a Duxbury running back in the game. I am going to round out my receiver room, and I'm going to go to not a guy specifically we had in studio, but I'm going to pick from a team that we had in studio this past week, and I'm going to go with Jay Camo from Cardinal Spellman. They've got probably the toughest matchup of any team this week, but they're just oozing confidence right now. Head coach or new head coach, I don't think that's his official title, but he's kind of running things. Ryan Donovan has done a good job there for Spellman. They're on this magical run. And now you get a really stout Stoneham D. And I think that's a defense that's used to seeing teams run against it. I think that Jack Duffy, quarterback for Cardinal Spellman, has really turned it on here, and they've found a passing game, and it's been great to see them go to the air a little bit more. And Jay Camo had 2 of the more impressive touchdowns you're going to see on the season in their round 1 game. Had a good game again this past week at BVT. So I'm going to take Camo to have make it 3 straight. and be a big piece of Spellman potentially pulling the upset over Stone. All right, Johnny, close the book on round 4.
Yeah, that really would be an all-time story, huh? If
Oh
Spellman
yeah,
can make the final. That's crazy. I mean, I was looking at that matchup as well. I'm gonna switch things up though. I'm gonna go quarterback. We've talked about the matchup so often so far. It's gonna be high scoring. I'm gonna go with Owen McHugh. You know, he's a fan favorite. He's a favorite on this show. I've actually never picked him this season, so no better time than right now. And they are for sure getting in a shootout in this game. You know, and I'm excited to watch it.
I can't wait for this one. I wanted to be on hand for Milton Marblehead last week. Had a feeling that was going to be a good game, and it was. I mean, they come back from 13 down, rattle off 17 unanswered to win it. I I think this is a pick 'em. I think this is a true pick 'em in this week. I think that you've seen that Milton maybe isn't quite the prohibitive favorite that we thought they might be, and although Hanover, has their little chinks in the armor too, they just seem to continually overcome those, and a lot of times it's with offense. So I think it is going to be a shootout, and so I think Owen's a great pick there. All right, round 5. I believe you need your quarterback here, Brennan. So who's slinging the rock for you this week?
Well, McHugh was going to be my pick, actually. I was just going to just ride that matchup
I
to the
actually
end.
thought that, so that's why I was going to wait till the 5th round, but I was like, I can't take a chance.
So, looking at the list here, I mean, we just saw a guy this past weekend have an incredible performance. He has probably the toughest matchup on this list here, but I might just go with Jack Duffy here because Spellman's going to need him. Like, this guy accounted for, I think, 310 out of the team's 320 yards offensively, if I'm not mistaken, in this one, plus both touchdowns. So, you know what? I'm just going to take a chance here. I'm going to go with Duffy and see if he can keep this momentum going, this newfound passing game that they've got going. Because if it works out and they upset Stoneham, he's going to be the reason why.
No disrespect to Brian Gallagher, who's a good running back for Spellman, but it does just feel like right now, if a touchdown goes on the board for Spellman in that game, Jack Duffy is going to have his hand in it, whether he's tossing it or whether he's trotting it in.
He had 24 carries and 20 pass attempts. He
Yeah,
is the offense.
yeah, he was,
It's
and
just
he
how
was
strong
good
is
in that
Stoneham.
game. And I think they could have scored a lot more, and they probably should have scored a lot more in that game, but just kind of didn't need to the way their defense was playing, I guess, if you want to frame it that way. I think he's gonna eat up yards one way or another for you. So I think Duffy's a great pick. I'm glad to see him come off. I need to close out my board with a running back, and we already have somebody in the Duxbury matchup. We're pretty much everybody is taken it outside of somebody who I'm just not going to take. And so I'm gonna have to repeat, and I can't really decide how I want to do it.
I need a running back as well, so you better tread carefully here.
I you know what, in the interest, well, I have somebody on either side of this matchup. I don't want to. No, I'm really struggling. All right, I'm gonna go Jacob Colstring.
Oh.
I had a conversation with him earlier in the year about his appearances in this draft, and I have yet to have the opportunity to employ his services on my team. So that's what I'm going to do here. Big week. It's got to be a big week for Colstring. So Jake, come on home, my friend. We're going to get it rolling this week. All right. And Johnny, close us out.
Yeah, depending on who you took, I was considering taking him and just having the all rock on backfield. Anything they do, I gain. We already have a running back on this team, but I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna take Finn and Carly from Duxbury. I'm just gonna hope I can beat Brendan on the touches and the touchdowns from the backfield of the Dragons. It really comes down to if they run the ball or not. I do think, like we talked about, I think they probably run it more than they have. So again, it's really just going to be a flip of the coin who gets the points for that. So I'm hoping it's going to be Finn.
There you go. All right, that will do it for this WATD fantasy draft. All right, let's take you through Brendan at quarterback, Jack Duffy, your running backs, John Gianibus and Alex Barlow. Your wide receivers, Mike Fulton and John McDonald. For myself, Will Baker at quarterback. My running backs are Jack Finnegan and Jacob Colstring. My wide receivers are David Quinlan and Jay Camo. And Johnny, quarterback, is Owen McHugh. Running backs are Finn Carley and Lucas Leander. Wide receivers are Jamie Smith and Tyler Sordillo. All right. We know for sure we've got a fun Friday night coming up. We are going to have coverage pre-game. We're going to do an elongated pre-game show starting at 6:15. We will have, I believe, Brendan, but somebody in any case will be at the Rockland game, getting ready for that one against St. Mary's, which means we'll also have updates throughout our game. We'll do an elongated pregame show with coverage from that game to begin. And then at 7 o'clock, we will take you into kick between Milton and Hanover. That will be our game of the week. Of course, with some sprinkled updates in from Rockland and St. Mary's, and we'll get you audio there on the halftime show, all of that, so we keep you abreast of what's going on in that game. We know for sure that we will have coverage of the Hull versus Old Colony game on Saturday, and there will be coverage of another game on Saturday. We just have to sort out how that is going to go down. So those are your two games this week. There will be a third. That is TBD. But in any case, you can continue to keep coming to WATD. And all games on WATD this week. We are at that stage of the playoffs, moving everything off BMS all to the flagship. So come on home for the best high school sports coverage around. You can follow us on Twitter at SE on WATD. And if you're watching this draft on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Sports Exchange on WATD. All right, for Brennan, Johnny, I'm Quinn, and we will see you, this as a group, we'll see you on Sunday to recap Final Four weekend, hopefully with a few representatives from the South Shore heading out to Gillette. Hopefully 6 of 6. Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you next week.